Hey guys, this is All Robotics Competition podcast organized by FLLCasts, and today, as last time, we are joined by Will. Will, organizer of US Engineering League and World Robot Olympiad in the United States. And today we have a very interesting topic. This is World Robot Olympiad 2023, the Elementary Challenge. Tell us more about it, Will.
Yeah, so this is the World Robot Olympiad. It is a global competition, and I do run I'm the national organizer with the team as for USA. This is a category within World Robot Olympiad called the Robo Mission. Robo Mission is a tabletop mission slash task-based game that the robot has to do autonomously. So that means the robot has to do it on its own and programmed to sense and move on its own and with no intervention. The game has a bunch of points, to complete. So this is the 8 to 12-year-old division, which is elementary. There's the junior and the senior divisions, which are older, 13 to 15 and 16 and higher for a senior. Yeah, and the robot has to do it within 2 minutes.
And these are Lego robots, right? As we discussed last time.
Yeah. So these are all Lego robots. The legal robots are, anything that's Lego based. Most teams use the Spike Prime or the EV3 as we talked about last time. So, we'll see a variety of different designs, a different type of programming techniques, and different ways to do these missions. So this is a fun way to get into robotics. It is a great way to learn how to code and learn the engineering process in designing a robot, building a robot, and programming a robot.
Yes, and it's also a great way to learn about the world around us because as this year also every year the competition, it has a team, it has a specific team that it follows, and this year it's something along the lines of marine life and preservation about the marine life, right?
Yeah. So this year, the way WR works is every year the international final is in a different country. And this year the country is in Panama as our international final in November. And the game is all centered around the country's selection of theme, and they usually pick something that's relevant to their country. So this elementary one is all about saving marine life, saving corals, and throwing away waste in the ocean. So that's what this one's all about.
Yes, and these are like 3 or 4 missions that are positioned on the field with different Lego parts. The mission models are constructed from Lego parts, and the team must program and construct a robot that accomplishes these missions. And it has 2 minutes 30 seconds, right?
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's 2 minutes. Okay, could you walk us through the game, through the rules?
Sure. Let's walk through the rules. So I'll just have to turn my camera on. How's that?
Okay, okay.
All right. So I'm just gonna have to look on the screen, on my other screen. All right. So this is the field for the elementary. This is the starting position. Okay, where the robot
Mhm.
starts. The field is it's in U.S. terms, it's about an 8 by 4 table, 8 feet by 4 feet table. So it's a pretty big table. It's what we call a sheet of plywood, surrounded by walls. And we have a specialized mat that you have to purchase and to use for the competition. Now this mission's all about starting here the robot, and then there's 6 different waste locations, boats with waste. So for example, this one is the black waste. That one has the red waste over there. There's a yellow waste right here in this one, but this one is in a cage. The green one as well has a cage. The blue one also, and the white one. Okay, so those are 6 wastes. And I'll go into the randomization part a little later. There's a whale here that needs
Yes.
to be rescued, and it has to be rescued in that area over there. I can't reach over the table, but it has to be in that corner over there. And
Okay.
then there's 4 different corals that need to be placed inside the coral reef. So it needs to be placed inside here. So there's 4 of
Mm-hmm.
these. And what I didn't mention was the waste actually have to be brought to the waste from the ships have to be brought to their corresponding colors in um, in the trash area. So now the randomization part of it is what's tricky. Okay, the robot actually has to figure out which ones, or because what it is, as I mentioned before, there's 6 different wastes, but only the yellow and the green are always existing. So the yellow one in the cage and the green one in the cage is always going to be
Mm-hmm.
there. But
Mm-hmm.
the black, red, white, or blue, there's only going to be 2 of them that exist. So for example, we may take away the black and we may take away the white, and the red and the blue are the only ones that we have to throw away. So there's always going to be 2 out of the 4 remaining colors other than yellow and green that are going to be there to be thrown away. So the robot has to bring bring the waste, save the corals, drop off the waste and the colors, and bring the whale back home, and then come back and park itself back at home all within 2 minutes.
Okay, okay. Walk me through this. Is this something, this randomization, does this happen on every round or at the start of the competition, or when does it happen?
So typically in each competition, each country runs it a little differently, but I'll just mention kind of in general what's done. There's typically 2 to 3 rounds on a day that you run your robot,
Mm-hmm.
and you have time to prepare before each round your robot. So you can make adjustments to your robot's programming or to its build, and each round though is randomized. So remember when I mentioned that maybe the first round the black and the white are missing. The next round could be different. It could be the red and white could be missing.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 of the
Mm-hmm.
4. So every round it's randomized, but you don't know what it's going to be when you approach the table. So it'll be randomized. The robot won't know, and the
Mm-hmm.
robot has to figure out which ones are missing. Okay.
What are some of
So
the
yeah.
ways in which you can figure out the ones that are missing?
So you could use sensors, right? You
Mm-hmm.
could look for some teams are thinking about, hey, there's an object here, right? It doesn't matter what color it is. They just know because black is always going to be here in the black location,
Mm-hmm.
red is going to be in the red location, and so on and so forth. You could just look for an object sensor. You can use what they call an ultrasonic sensor or use the color sensor, look at the values. You could do that. Now, another way you can do this is actually don't sense anything and go to all 6 locations. So part of it is, let's just go as if something was there,
Mm-hmm.
have the robot grab it and bring it to the waste area as if, we may not know if it's there or not. So some teams, now the tricky part is the 2 minutes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you're thinking about this and having your robot start and having to navigate to each location to look for waste, drop off, push the corals in,
Mm-hmm.
move the thing, move the whale. Part of it is the most important part is route planning, what we call route planning here.
Mm-hmm.
It's understanding, do I pick up one and do I bring it all the way to the black area? So this one has to be dropped off here. And then I go back and do I maybe pick up blue or do I pick up yellow?
Mm-hmm.
Like what is the order that I pick everything up at? Do I do blue and bring it here, or not? So the question is, what's my route that I have to take to drop off my waste and to push in the corals? Do I do the corals as I'm passing by?
Uh-huh.
How do I know there's and the one other thing I forgot to mention was another part of randomization was the whale. The whale could be in any one of the 4 boxes. So any one of the coral reefs. So you don't know where the whale is going to be as well. So there's 2 randomization things to think about when you're doing your route planning. Now, many teams are thinking I can do multiple pickup, multiple drop off, meaning
Mm-hmm.
I could pick up
Mm-hmm.
a black, I can, well, what I mentioned before, you can pick up all four. You can pick up all four and then drop them off, right? Or you can pick up two at a time or three at a time and drop them off to save time. So teams have to really think about how to pick up objects, drop them off, and do the other missions do the other missions of pushing the corals in and saving the whale, all within 2 minutes. So I would say that single pickup, single drop off is maybe close on time. So you got to think about how fast your robot can be.
And how is this scored at the end? What are the points when you think about the route? Probably you can think of I'm gonna accomplish some of the missions and get the most points that I can in 2 minutes.
Hold on 1 second. Let me pull up the score sheets. Hold on, give me a second. So there's an official score sheet here in the plan. So I'm just going to read it. Probably can't see it, but when you drop off one of the randomized wastes, the black or the red or the white or the blue, there's only going to be two of those you drop off. If you drop it off completely inside, so if you drop off the blue completely inside, it's 20 points. Okay. But then, so partial won't work. It's what it is at the end of the round. So it has to be totally in.
Oh, it's completely in.
Has to be completely in.
Yes.
Now, if it's just touching, you get 5 points. But if it's fully in, you get 20 points. But now the yellow and the green, now these are interesting because the yellow, they're caught in here, right? How do you get it out? So there's one way is maybe you could lift it out somehow, or you can lift the lever and it pops out. So there's two ways you can grab it, but if you do get a hold of one and drop it off, now you see this, there's a wall here, okay? You have to drop it off in the yellow area without making the wall move off the gray circles. Now you can push the circles a little bit and you can see it's still touching gray. That's okay. As long as the yellow is in the yellow and the wall is still touching the gray, you get full points. Okay, this is 32 points to drop it off. Okay, and you won't get penalized by taking off the points for if this comes off. Let's just say push this like this, that is not full points. So you want to make sure you can try to figure it out. So those teams that are thinking about, do I drop them off, or do I push it behind here, or do I push it slightly in like this without touching? That's very delicate. So there's many different ways to think about how to drop off that yellow, and it's the same with the green block, the green waste.
So two of the wastes are kind of like in a cage. The other two are free. You bring two of them to the waste area, you get 20 points. You bring the ones that are in a cage, you bring them to the waste area, you get 34 points, you mentioned?
32. You get 32 for fully inside the square.
Fully.
And 12 for partially in.
Okay, makes sense.
And you do get 4 points just for releasing it from the cage. Okay. Now, if I drop off any of the colors that are not in the right color, you still get 2 points, but you don't get the 32 or the 20 full points. Okay?
Oh yes. Okay. This could be a difference.
Yes, it could be a big difference.
What about the corals and the whale?
Yeah, the corals and the whale. So saving the whale, so I'm going to do this. So you have the whale. The whale, again, is going to be randomized. You don't know which spot it is, but you got to find the whale first. Then you got to bring them all the way to the rescue area. Now he has to be completely completely in that black line, right? So to be completely in, that is worth 19 points. Now, if it's partially in, right? If it's partially in, you get 8 points. Okay, so you can kind of see it's partially in, right? So that is the difference between 19 and 8. So, and it could make a difference in you winning or losing. So a lot of times, I've seen teams win or lose just by a quarter of an inch or something like that. So, yeah. Now the corals to completely inside. Now there's 4 of them that you have to save. You have to push it in completely inside the white line, right? And that is worth 6 points each. So this is 6, and those 2 as well. Okay, those 2. But if it's partially in, it's 3 points. Okay. Now, a lot of these things that people ask, can be knocked over and stuff like that. It can be knocked over. And now some of the rules say which ones can be knocked over, which can't. But I do know the wastes can be, completely flipped over into but it's okay. All right. Now the corals, I think, need to be standing, but I'm not sure. Actually, I have to reread the rules on that one. But there are rules on that which they have to do it. And then if you now the last thing we have to do is bring your robot back to home base. Has to be fitting within this blue line. Has to be in the projection also of any parts and that are outside, even if it's not if it's in the air, it still needs to be within. Actually, no, it has to be partially in. I'm sorry, the rules change this here. This is different. If they're partially in, you get 15 points. Okay. All right.
So partially in. Okay, so these are to your point. These are the official rules, and we can our listeners, they can read up on the rules and they could check them. How would they approach? How could they approach the competition? You started with the route, how we calculate the route, what route do we take. But what should we do for the competition? What's on your mind? How could this be approached?
Yeah. So this competition really points to the engineering process of designing a robot to do your functions that you want to do. So you really have to give a lot of thought to building a robot that can do what you want. So do I want to just do a simple pickup or drop off, or do I want to do a multiple? So I have to have multiple. You have to have space on your robot, or you have to have arms or grab and lift. There's different things to think about when you're designing a robot, and then you also have to program it. So a lot of it is just in the upfront thought process of what you want your robot to do and how to get there. So this one is actually pretty tough. This is this elementary one this year compared to prior years is fairly difficult on the scale, on the scale of difficulty compared to other years. But this is a great learning process for kids to kind of think through and problem solve and work in teams and have fun doing this.
Oh, great. I remember the competition last year, and it really seems that this one is a little bit more difficult. Last year, the elementary, it was like moving in. There were some turns, but there were no intersections. And here you have the different waste elements on different places in the field. And it's like there were intersections. You have to think about the strategy, how do you approach it.
Yeah, so teams always ask, okay, so let me just a couple points. You're completely right. There's intersections in different locations. The difficulty of the cage for the yellow and the green is also an increase in difficulty, and the drop off of the yellow and green is also tough, right? To think about. Typically in years past, there hasn't been a grab and lift needed. But this year, teams may do that. They may grab and lift and drop it off over the wall. So that's different. That's typically an older function or function that is done on the robot. But this year they're bringing it into elementary, which is really interesting to see. And then the sizes of all the different objects. But the whale is one size. These objects are a different size, and then this object's a different size. And how do you do this? So do you lift it by the loop? Do you push it in? Right? So there's many different things to think about for your robot to do, and it all has to do it on its own. You don't get to drive it. You have to program it to do everything you want it to do within the 2 minutes. So that's where the difficulty comes in. That's where the challenge comes in, and this is where so this is where we're going to see many different types of designs and programs and routes. And one last thing on routes, you do not have to follow the lines, okay? The lines are there as guidelines, but some teams may just go, for example, if the team may just start here and go directly to the black without going, using a line. Actually, there's no lines from the start. A lot of times there's lines at the start area. There's no lines at the start area this time. So they probably don't have to use a line to start. So you just have to, the route for this is really important, and really we need to think about the order the order that you pick them up and the order that you drop them off.
Yes, I think this is a good way to wrap this up because we see the field, we see the mat, we see all the lines on it, but you don't have to follow them and to strictly use the lines. You can find other more interesting ways to navigate the field in order to get as many points as you could.
Yes, and teams that score the most points will win. So the goal is to score as many points as possible. Yes, but
Is
I
there
would I
anything
would
that
set
we are
goals though.
missing?
Um,
Anything more that you think we should share? Because we two together, we are not here to give
yeah, I mean
solutions,
the thing about it
but
is yeah, I mean this is all about I would say setting goals for your team. If your
mhm,
team, is just starting out, you don't have to go for all 116 points that are the maximum, okay?
mhm.
You don't have to do that. Do your best. Try to get as many objects, completed or the missions completed and be okay with that. Maybe next year you can do better, right? Some teams, I know there's a lot of competitive teams that want to win and want to go to Panama, that's the goal, but you don't have to. I would say goals for parents and coaches and kids is to do your best and just learn as you go and learn the different techniques. There's a lot of techniques here. Over the years, you'll see from year to year that you can reuse techniques that you used in years past for future competitions. So it's a learning and it's a journey that you take. So I would say for beginner teams, you don't have to go for all 116 points. Okay.
Okay, okay. Thanks, Will. That was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking with you. And today we looked at World Robot Olympiad 2023, the elementary, and I hope in some of the next weeks we'll be able to look at the next few challenges, which are the senior and the junior challenge, and they are also quite interesting. This
Yes.
has been all about All Robotics Competitions, and I've been your host, Kiril Mitov. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.